is National Suicide Prevention Month, and suicide remains one of the leading causes of death worldwide, with the World Health Organization estimating it's the cause of 1 in every 100 deaths across the globe.
Now, so many of you out there listening to this, so many people across this country have been affected in some way by suicide. Our GMA3 family, no different. Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Jen Ashton, many of you are familiar with her story. She has spoken candidly about losing her ex-husband to suicide. Today, we have another colleague here with us, our senior producer, Brandon Chase, who we all spent a lot of time with over the years, but he lost his father to a self-inflicted gunshot wound in 2016. Now, we're going to have a conversation with the two of them in just a moment, but first, we want to show you how a 40-mile hike that Brandon had with his brother was about more than just conquering a mountain. Take a look at this.
We started before dawn to summit one of the famed Adirondack 46ers, 4,000-foot mountains scattered throughout the northern part of New York State. The climb promised panoramic views of the surrounding peaks and lakes, but the trail made you earn it. It's the last big push of a week-long adventure for me and my brother Cliff, a tribute to our father, who took his own life in 2016.
Yeah, he would love this.
Yeah, it feels right, you know?
September is National Suicide Prevention Month, and for us, a chance to talk about what we've learned from losing someone so close.
Did you think he was capable of it?
No, honestly, I didn't. You're looking back, you can see that the pieces of the puzzle were all there. I just didn't realize it.
Do you find it difficult to tell people?
No, it's not really difficult, you know.
How have you dealt with the what ifs?
Like, so what if he called you this time and you talked him out of it? What about the next time? What about the time after that? At some point, you're not going to answer your phone, and then you're going to have that hanging over your head. Like, you can't do that.
What advice would you give to somebody who's just starting this trip, who just lost a friend or family member, someone close to them, to suicide?
I would say, give people like the benefit of the doubt. Most people they really mean well. They just want to help. And it is a topic that most people don't know how to react to.
Yeah, there's no training.
Yeah.
Back on the mountain, we traded the view for unexpected high winds and freezing rain.
Boy, they didn't give this one to us, did they?
No. Yeah, we're supposed to have this just magnificent view of just everything, all like Lake Placid and stuff, and we had nothing. But it just, at this point, kind of adds to the story.
Brandon, physical, emotional. How would you describe those two aspects of that journey?
Well, first, I thought it was really, in the immediate aftermath of my dad's death, we all talked a lot. It was a lot of just coping, dealing, memories, all that stuff. And then you kind of go to your separate corners. He's got a wife and kids. My sister has a family. My parents have been divorced since the 80s, so my mom wasn't particularly involved in a lot of his later years. And I think making a point, we're doing this trip as a hat tip to Dad, going to places he used to go, he used to hang out, he used to camp. So it's sort of that was the premise of the trip, and so it's going to come up. And I think a check-in after a few years was really, really beneficial.
Can you describe how much and in what ways your life has changed since your father's death?
Oh, wow. I think the main takeaway for me is I'm way more in tune with my needs. There are certain things, there are good days and bad days, even 5 years later, and there are moments that I know are going to trigger me. His birthday, Thanksgiving is tough, Christmas is tough, Father's Day is really tough. So there are certain times where I just know I'm going to have to pull back a little bit. And I think also, though, kind of paying that forward, there are other people that that have been through similar. And you need to check in. So checking in right away if something happens, any death, you check in right away, but then follow up, especially on if it's a father, if it's a mother, on those holidays.
It's something interesting you talk about is this idea of how cavalier we can be with talking about suicide. Like even making an aside or a joke has been a part of just our language. How, oh my goodness, this happens to me again. Oh my God, I'll just kill myself kind of a thing.
It's really normalized. Yeah. If this email, or if I send one more email, I'm gonna, that's the reality for some people. And I think that we've normalized it to a point where it's it's almost a joke or an excuse not to actually talk about it and not to actually deal with it.
Yeah, I got chills because you don't think about it, and you don't realize how that does just normalize or just like a numbing effect of something that's very chilling and needs to be talked about and discussed. And Dr. Jen, I want to bring you in here to this as well. Interestingly, and this is good news, globally, suicide rates are going down. But the bad news is here in the United States, it's actually increasing. Yeah. And I know that obviously you've had your personal story that you've been so open and sharing about to help others. But if someone is struggling, there are warning signs, correct?
There are, and Rob, my children's father, the person I was married to for 22 years, he didn't really have any of the classic warning signs. But like Brandon said, it's just human nature. We go back and we say, did we miss something? What was there? What wasn't there? Should I have done something more? The classic warning signs, though, if you speak to people in the field of suicidology, if you speak to psychiatrists, how people are talking, if someone's saying they're being a burden to others or they feel like a burden, they have no reason to live, they feel trapped, or obviously if they articulate that they are thinking of killing themselves, those are glaring, glaring red flags. Then there's things to keep an eye on in their mood. Do they have a loss of interest in things that used to give them pleasure? Do they seem depressed? Are they expressing feelings of humiliation? Are they irritable, anxiety, rage? Those are under mood. And then behavior. This is a big one. Are they isolating themselves from friends or family? Are they visiting or calling people to say goodbye or giving away possessions? Or are they using alcohol or drugs more? There was a really interesting study done on the West Coast that people actually brought their pets to shelters and then were found to have higher rates of suicide in the coming days, weeks, and months. So, you know, these are just things to keep an eye on. And if you notice them, trust your gut instinct and reach out to that person, let them know they're not alone, and get professional help.
And everyone has individual needs, of course, but Dr. Jen, I was hoping you had some advice I mean, you obviously had to deal with it yourself, but your children and people like Brandon who have parents who do this. What is your advice on how to not just survive, but thrive in the aftermath?
Well, I mean, I think Brandon said it perfectly, which is that, you know, there are always triggering things. It comes in waves. There are times that my children and I feel like the strongest people, and then there are times that we feel like the most fragile. One statistic that we learned about as we were dealing with this, and we're only 4 years in, is that for every person who dies by suicide, there's an estimated 135 people directly affected by that. That is over 5 million people affected by suicide death in this country every year. And as Brandon said, and we feel like we're members of that club that no one wants to be in, it's something that is with you every single day. There are good days, there are bad days. We're always learning. My children and I, you know, deal with this every single day. And my the most important piece of advice would be patient with yourselves, but get professional help. And that is something that we have signed on to for the rest of our lives, because we will be dealing with this for the rest of our lives.
I mean, powerful. Thank you both for sharing your story. It's going to help so many people. Mostly, as you point out, sometimes it's just needing to know you're not alone, and there are other people who are there with you. And so we want to wrap this up by emphasizing and reiterating what you said, Dr. Jen. Help is available if you or a loved one is struggling. So please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. You can also text TALK to 741-741. It's free, confidential, emotional support. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And again, Brandon, as you say, you are not alone. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time. It's not easy to come up here on a national stage and talk about the most painful thing in your life. So we appreciate it, and you.
Thanks for having me.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.